It started from a dual background in psychotherapy and education. So Peter Blythe, who started it in 1975, had been a consultant psychotherapist in private practice for many years. And because of his knowledge of psychosomatic illness and problems, he was invited to go and be a senior lecturer in education at a College of Education in Lancashire, which he said was a complete change for him, because suddenly he was expected to understand reading difficulties and school problems and to deliver lectures on this. And one day he was asked to give a lecture on reading difficulties, and he found in a local bookshop a very old book by a man called A.E. Tansley on reading and remedial reading. And what he gleaned from that book was never assume, because a child looks normal, that child has the equipment that it needs to cope in the classroom or in the general environment. So he had a mature student, a man called David McGlowan, and together they started to go into schools and to test children's motor skills, and found that those children who had been diagnosed with a learning difficulty or disability of some kind all had less well-developed physical skills than children who didn't. So a few years later, Peter went back into private practice. He started to work with children and also adults who suffer from agoraphobia and panic disorder, because there is a link. So INPP, rather like our work or the underlying theory, has evolved over many years. It hasn't been one of those interventions that has been pre-planned. We have discovered things along the way, and then we have tried to test them out to make sure that they work, that they can be replicated, and then put a structure in place to standardise how that work is done. So it started in 1975 in Chester. The earliest training requests came from Sweden, from doctors and dentists in Sweden, and teachers. Then back to the UK, and then a postgraduate group of students who came over from the University of Hamburg in the 1990s. But right up until probably about 2000, it was still quite unstructured. Then we decided that it was important, as a demand for training in other countries was growing from other professionals, to have a standardization of the training course wherever it was provided in whatever language, and that those people who do train under the name of INPP actually adhere to basic standards, to a code of ethics and to an agreement that's renewed every year to protect the public, to know that what they're going to get is going to be the same, and also to protect them as professionals as well from possible bad practice elsewhere. So today we have training in 14 different countries under license. I can't remember how many languages, it may be 10 languages now. And licentiates numbers vary according to the country. In Germany, they are very lucky. The healthcare system is different from the United Kingdom. They expect to have to pay something towards certain aspects of healthcare. And they can go to a doctor and have a prescription written for something called ergotherapy. And ergotherapy covers things like physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy. And so the INPP intervention can actually come under that umbrella. So it's easier for parents to access a therapist, and it's easier for therapists to actually have families to work with. In the United Kingdom, it's very different, because the National Health System, for very good reason, has boundaries according to what your qualifications are, what you're allowed to do, what interventions you can use. And so there is no direct referral basis from the NHS for INPP therapy. So parents have to find us themselves, usually through their own research, from word of mouth, having heard a lecture, maybe having read a book. And it's harder from a professional perspective to start a practice. So in Germany at the moment, I think we have about 300 licentiates. In the United Kingdom, it may be 30. And it varies according to the system in the country in which training is being provided.